Hello, my fellow chatterers and book lovers, and anyone else who has popped in because you are curious about what this is or you have got a bit lost. Welcome everyone, I am Chatty, this is my channel, Chatty's My Chatter, and I'm going to be chatting away madly about more middle grade recommendations. So I'm going to be talking to you through some examples of books you could read if you were following the earth or the air path specifically. So the first books I'm going to talk about are the inspiration books. If you are not sure what they are, I do have a video in the description box where I go in a bit more detail about the inspiration books. But the Earth Path was inspired by the classic book Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry by Mildred D. Taylor, which is a historical fiction. And the Air Path was inspired by Kerry Bonnell's Wilder Than Midnight, which is an inclusive fantasy fairy tale. So I'm going to start off by going through the Earth Path, but both the Earth and Air, and in fact all the other paths, all start at Prologton. So I have already done one recommendation video where I looked at the magic and the water paths, and in that I did give you some examples of books you could use for this. But these videos were so hard to narrow down which books I wanted to talk about, and there's so many books that I really love that I didn't get to talk about in this video. I hope I'm giving everyone a variety of genres and kind of more books that maybe you haven't heard of quite so much. So that was my plan for this one anyway. So I am going to share 3 more books that you could read for Prologton. And I am a predominantly fantasy reader. It is my favourite genre. So quite a lot of these are fantasy, but I am trying to make sure I include other genres as well. But it is very heavily fantasy, so just putting that out there. But the first book I'm going to talk about for this is not actually a fantasy. So the prompt for Prologton, which is our starting point, is to read a book with a map illustration. I have a historical fiction mystery here. This is the second book in the Lizzie and Bell mysteries. This is Portraits and Poison. And on the first page here, we do have a map. This is a map of London, and it depicts certain parts in the book which are very important. So we have Sancho's tea shop, which is where Lizzie lives, and we have Kenwood House, where Belle lives. And these books focus on 2 historical figures. So these 2 girls really did exist, and the author has imagined what would have happened if they would have met each other, because both these girls are black and they are living in a world, obviously the world we inhabit, where there was what still is a lot of racism. So we have Lizzie Sanchez, the daughter of, it's coming, Charles Sanchez? Ignatius Sanchez. I don't know where I got Charles from. Anyway, and so you can find out more about these historical figures. So this is an imagining of what would happen if these 2 characters did meet. Dino Bell is a aristocrat, and she has been adopted by her uncle and aunt. So she has a high society life, and these 2 girls solve mysteries together, and this one focuses a lot on portraits, and it also looks at what those portraits mean in terms of people's expectations of people's and what they show and the importance of portraits, and it's a really fascinating read. The next book I have is it's a fantasy and it is The Secrets of Haven Point by Lisette Autumn. So this book is by a bay, and we have a lovely map of the coast and where the lighthouse is. And the lighthouse is a haven to anyone who is deemed to be different through physical disabilities, or I don't know how if it touches on neurodivergence so much, I can't remember, but it is definitely a haven for those who society would treat differently, and it's sort of like providing a place of comfort and kind of solidarity against sort of ableism society. So all of the characters in this book, they just crack on with life, and they enable themselves to try things differently, to be able to do everything that they want to do, and they kind of work as a team, and it's this really lovely kind of found family. But the way of life as they know it and things, there's kind of a threat kind of echoing and sort of starting to make itself known, that affects them all. But within that, you also deal with regular kind of like childhood difficulties of kind of managing certain social situations and things like that. And it's just a really like powerful, like heartwarming book. So here we have a picture of the lighthouse, and we've got cottages around it, and their allotments, and then further along the coast we have got like how they get down to the shore, and we have got this sort of building here, which is I want to say it's like a pillbox building. It's a where you can see, like a hide, kind of where you can view stuff. I just feel I've lost all ability to speak. I'm sorry, I'm doing another laid up video, which I should never really do, but here we are. We also have a cross section of Old Ben the Lighthouse, so you get to see what it's like in the lighthouse. And I can't help but do 3 for books with map, because it's one of my favourite things. I do love a book with a map. And I have another fantastic fantasy that I have to mention, and that is Jordan Lee's The Whisperix, The Labyrinth of Lost and Found, which I have very recently read and absolutely loved, along with many other people. And this was just such a delight to read. And we do have a map. Despite this world being really difficult to map, we do have a map illustration in here. So parts of it aren't completely filled in because this world is impossible to map. There is a certain amount of definite tension, danger, bordering on the horror, but it's just a very kind of like tense world. But there's mystery. It's really enthralling right from the beginning. And we have our pair of protagonists, Benjamia, who is from our world, and Elizabella, who is from the world of the Whisperix, like Weatherworld. And it's really fascinating them kind of finding out about their own different cultures and starting to try and build on this friendship as they have a mission to go on. And on this map we have Frog Square, Miss Bliss's Confectionery, the Crooked Wood, the 61st House of the Hanged Man, and then things with like, is this a dock? This way is unexplored. Towards where we live, this way is unexplored, kind of annotated all around the side of it. So there we go. There's my map recommendations for you all. So following the Earth Path, the next place we would come to is Fayre Sister Hill. So in Fayre Sister Hill, it's all about book recommendations. And the Earth Path, if you're following that one, it is to read a book that has been recommended by a friend. But the Water Path has recommendations from Middlegrade Mad Chat crew. And I already spoke about 6 of the books. So I spoke about Tiffany's recommendations and Lucia's recommendations in my previous video. So I am now going to talk about the recommendations. Even though it's from the Water Path, I'm going to cover the other 6 recommendations that are an option for you to read should you wish to. There is also a graphic that you can find in the Google Docs as well. So let me find my notes for these. They're over here. So I have got recommendations for you from Stacy and from Kelli. So Stacy, who can be found on Instagram at my literary life in Finland with underscores in between each word, and also on Storygraph with SGMLILJA, and that's her Storygraph name. So these are the 3 books that she has recommended, and we have got a variety of them. So the first one is a mystery book, and this is Atticus Claw Breaks the Law by Jennifer Gray, and it's the first book in the World's Greatest Cat Detective series. Atticus Claw, the world's greatest cat burglar, likes a mystery. So when he receives a mysterious message that invites him to a sleepy coastal town, he packs up and off he goes. The writer of this mysterious message is Jimmy the Magpie, who is a gang leader who wants Atticus to steal all the jewels in the town and leave all the humans baffled. This seems quite straightforward, and when Atticus moves in with Inspector Cheddar, everything seems to be going according to their plans, but he starts to wonder if a life of crime is really for him. The second book recommended by Stacy is a fantasy book, and this is Podkin One Ear by Kieran Larwood. I couldn't get hold of the first book, which is what she recommends, which is just called Podkin One Ear. This is one of the more recent ones, which is Podkin and the Singing Spear. So this is a series by Kieran Larwood, and it is called the Five Realms series. It is a classic fantasy world with our protagonists are rabbits. So we have 3 rabbits that are on the run. Podkin was a spoiled rabbit, once destined to be the clan leader, but he must act bravely as he, his older sister, and his baby brother are all fleeing for their lives from the villainous Gorm tribe that have enslaved their clan. Facing pursuit and treachery, the 3 collect allies on their way in search for refuge until they are ready to fight back and rid the land of this scourge. And the final recommendation from Stacy is a contemporary humorous book called Super Fudge by Judy Bloom. Farley Drexel Hatcher, better known as Fudge, is back for more adventure and hijinks. 12-year-old Peter has always found his brother to drive him up the wall straight from day one. Now he's a lot older, he's an even bigger pain. He's making worm brownies, insisting on getting a mired bird as a pet, and is constantly singing all the words that he can spell. So those are Stacey's recommendations. Again, it's great that we've got this whole variety of different books that you could get into. So do check this out, and if you do pick anything up, then do let Stacy know what you have thought of them. So Kelli from Kelli Reads a Lot, and you can find her on both BookTube under Kelli Reads a Lot and on Storygraph, and I will put her links in the description box as well. So Kelli's first book she recommends is called Book Scavengers by Jennifer Chambliss-Bertram, and this is book 1 in the Book Scavengers series. It is a mystery book. 12-year-old Emily has moved to San Francisco, and this is the city of her literary idol, Garrison Griswold, who is the creator of the sensational game Book Scavengers. Books are hidden in cities all over the country, and you can find them via clues and puzzles. But Garrison is attacked and is in a coma, and Emily and her friend James find a book that contains a mysterious new game that he has created. They race against time to solve all the puzzles and find out the secret at the heart of this game before the attackers return. That sounds quite a thrilling one there. We then have a contemporary book that Kelli recommends, which is Counting by Sevens by Holly Goldberg Sloan. This is a moving novel about being an outsider, coping with loss, and discovering the meaning of family. Willow is a 12-year-old genius obsessed with nature and diagnosing medical conditions. She finds it very comforting to count by sevens. She's not found it easy to connect with people beyond her parents, but she lives a very happy life. But tragedy comes to the family, and the book explores how to push through grief, celebrate diversity, found family, and the transformative power of kindness. Counting by Sevens is a book that I have heard so many good things from a lot of people. The final book that Kelli recommends is Fablehaven by Brandon Mull, which is a fantasy, and this is book 1 in the Fablehaven series. Over hundreds and hundreds of years, mythical creatures gather in Fablehaven, which is a safe space to prevent the extinction. It's an It's an enchanting and exciting place, but it is far from safe. The brother and sister, Kendra and Seth, have no idea that their granddad is a caretaker of Fablehaven. These gated woods have ancient laws that keep order amongst all the different magical beings and creatures that live within them. But when a rule is broken, a dangerous power is unleashed. Can Kendra and Seth save their family, Fablehaven, and possibly the world? So there you go, another 6 books that have been recommended by the Mad Chat Middlegrade crew. I'm now going to move on away from Fayre Sister Hill. So if you're following the Earth Path, where we go next after Fayre Sister Hill is to the Logan land. So the Earth Path prompt for getting to Logan land is a place of achievement. So this is to read a book about a character overcoming adversity. And this can be personal adversity or societal adversity. And if we're looking at our full inspiration books, there are 2 that really jump out about overcoming adversity in this one. And it is A Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry by Mildred D. Taylor, which deals a lot with racism, and The Insiders, which deal a lot with bullying. So I have 2 more books to recommend to you. So the first one, it's one of my favourites. Yes, it's a fantasy. It is Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. This is one of my favourite books. I absolutely adore Amari. And what I really love about this is you see her overcoming adversity just within her school, in regular life, in I can't remember what level of school it is because it's in America, and possibly middle school, I'm not entirely sure. But we meet her while she is dealing with bullying and finding her place and using her voice to stand up for herself, and being called overly aggressive for it. We then find her going into this hidden magical side of the world that has previously she has known absolutely nothing about. She is recommended for the Bureau of Supernatural Investigations by her brother Quentin, who is missing. And within this magical place, she also faces adversity as well, because people are very suspicious of her and the things that she can do. So it is Amari trying to navigate the world, finding her brother, and just proving people wrong about how they judge her. And it is just incredible. The second book I have is overcoming more of a personal adversity rather than a societal one. And this is Gut Reaction by Kirby Larson and Quinn Wyatt. So here we have a protagonist overcoming her own difficulties that she has, and that is how she is kind of coping with moving to a new school, dealing with kind of the loss of her dad, and she starts to experience some physical health problems as well. And it's how she manages those, not only sort of addressing them and asking for help, but also how she feels about herself as someone who now has a medical condition, as opposed to someone who was more able-bodied and didn't have to consider other things in their life. And it's such a brilliant kind of portrayal of this, and it's really heartwarming, showing you how it's important to not back down against things and to keep trying to live your best life, but also knowing when it's important to stop and ask for help and to put your own needs before your plans and goals. And it's so beautifully done. There's a lovely friendship group within here. This is Own Voices. It's a mother and daughter writing team, and the daughter has the medical condition that is spoken about in this book. So Loganland also includes 2 backpack bonuses. So the first of these backpack bonuses is A Place of Pride. So this is to read a book where the protagonist is a member of the LGBTQ plus community. So my first recommendation is Jamie by L.D. Lipinski. Jamie is non-binary, and they are exploring which secondary school to go to after they finish primary school. But unfortunately, there is a boys' school and a girls' school. So Jamie talks to both of the schools and is like, well, where do I fit? And then they start to explore a lot, like how the prescription of gender affects people, and also how people were happy to accept Jamie as non-binary when it didn't really have to do anything or change anything. But when they do, they start to view Jamie as the problem rather than society. And it's just so beautifully done, and there's some really heartwarming moments in here about even people with the best intentions maybe needing to kind of look at themselves and see if, you know, do they fully understand what it is like to be trans, what it is like to be specifically non-binary in this book. I then have another favourite contemporary middle grade of mine, which is The Deepest Breath by Meg Grehan. And this book has a lesbian protagonist starting to realise that she has romantic feelings for girls. And what does that mean? She loves to find answers to everything. She likes to know all the answers to things, and not having answers makes her feel safe. And it's got a lovely kind of exploration of how important libraries are, how important communities are, and the importance of being able to discuss things with a safe adult. This novel is also written in verse, and I absolutely love it. So highly recommend. The other backpack bonus is A Place of Heritage. So this is to read a book exploring different cultures and different heritages. So I have got 2 books to recommend. The first one I don't have a copy of, unfortunately, and my library didn't have it in when I went to kind of get books to hold up for this. So my first book is Zachary Ying and the Dragon Emperor by Zeren J. Zhao. This is the first book in a fantasy series. I'm hoping more come out at the moment. We've only had this one. But this explores Chinese heritage, mythology, and ancient rulers, and kind of pulls them all together in modern day with a magical adventure. The second book I do have, and this is Red, White and Whole by Ryan LaRocca. And this explores kind of what it's like to be part of 2 different cultures and trying to like pull them both together. This is set in the 1980s, and we see our protagonist sort of trying to mix the Western US culture that she is part of and that is like within her schools, but also with her Indian heritage as well, with all of her family and all of her cousins, and kind of how to merge the 2. There is also other things that happen in this book as well. We explore illness and managing sort of like difficult news, and grief is all explored in this book, and it's a really fantastic read. And also, again, it's also a novel in verse as well. It's a really lovely one. Okay, moving on to our next place now. So, just working out where to put these books. So, after the Logan land on the Earth Path, you can travel along to the Hideaway Snug. So, in the Hideaway Snug, we're looking at genres, and for the it's gone. The Earth Path. Oh, we're doing well. The Earth Path is, what have I written here? Safe challenge. So if you have travelled to Hideaway Snug by the Earth Path, it is to read a book with a genre you don't usually read from. And obviously this depends on you and which genres you tend to read from and don't. So I have, in my previous video where we looked at the magic path, which was to read your favourite genre, given you an example of 3 different genres. So I'm now going to give you 3 final genres and an example for each of those. So the first one I have is a horror recommendation. I don't read a lot of horror, but I read this one, I really enjoyed it, and so this is the one I'm recommending. However, if you want horror middle grade recommendations, I do definitely recommend going and checking out Stormi from Stormi Reads channel. So from Storm Reads channel, because she does read a lot of horror and has a lot of recommendations for it. Also Olivia from Olivia's Catastrophe does read some horror middle grade as well. So I definitely recommend checking those 2 out. But the one I'm recommending is The Haunting of Evelyn Jones by Phil Hicks. So this has got some, the atmosphere in this is fantastic. And you can kind of see from the front cover, we've got all of these like trees missing their leaves and all this silhouette. we've got sort of this mysterious kind of scarecrow with a pumpkin head in the background. There's kind of like a mistiness to it. And there's a wind. We've got Evelyn holding a torch out to explore what is happening. It does include kind of like legend and folk tales, and yeah, it's very delightfully spooky, but this is kind of my level of horror. This is me at the edge of my level of horror, but I find it really, really enjoyable, and I'm really looking forward to reading more in this series. My recommendation for a sci-fi book, again, it's another one that I've really enjoyed, but I got from the library, so I don't have a copy of it myself because they didn't have any again when I went to the library. And this is The Boy Who Fell from the Sky by Benjamin Dean. So Benjamin Dean is most well known for his Middlegrade, I'm totally blanking on the title. I want to say The Boy at the End of the Rainbow, but I don't think that's the right title. Me, My Dad and the End of the Rainbow. Oh my goodness. He's most well known for that one. But this sci-fi that didn't get as much buzz, I loved so much. I want to follow up to it. But obviously if the story isn't there, it's fine, don't force it. But this was just, so fantastic. All about kind of like not judging people and also not taking things at face value. And I think this is such a fantastic concept to be exploring within Middlegrade, especially considering everything that you kind of like get in the news around the world at the moment about how establishments are kind of like wanting to spin their own version of things rather than a more balanced view or perhaps the truth. So with The Boy Who Fell from the Sky, we hear about these aliens. So they come down, they are very dangerous and threatening to humans. So there are teams that go out to catch and deal with those aliens to make sure they keep the planet safe. But our protagonist meets one. And they have a chat. And he starts to question if everything they know has been a lie. And it's such a fantastic book. I really, really recommend that one. And my final genre I'm going to be talking about is historical. And my recommendation for historical fiction is The Secrets of the Sun King by Emma Carroll. I do own this book, but I've lent it out to someone, so I don't have a copy with me. But this is all about the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb. And we follow our protagonist who makes friends with the children of a journalist, and they all go to Tutankhamun's tomb as it's being excavated. But there is a bigger reason to this. There is a mysterious letter that our protagonist finds from their that has been meant for their grandfather, and it sounds like there is a curse that has been unleashed that needs to be pulled back in order to save their grandfather. And again, it's the time and place, the feeling of that time and place is just done beautifully. And Emma Carroll's narrative voice, again, is just the way I like my Middlegrade. You just feel like you're being pulled into the story, looked after, you are challenged in certain ways, and you're also given this really well-paced narrative, and you get a really good connection from our protagonist. So yeah, really love that one. Okay, moving away from the Hideaway, Snug. Fail. Oh dear, I'm so sorry. Yes, there we go. And it's one shot, no editing, which I didn't talk about at the beginning, but there we go. That's the camera fall down because I threw my book under through the table and knocked it all down. Where were we going? We were leaving the Hideaway Snug and going to the final place on the Earth Path, which is the Crossing of Ways. So at the Crossing of Ways, it's all about the choice, and following the Earth Path, the choice is series choice. So it is either starting a new series or finishing a series you are already reading. So again, this all depends on you. So what I'm going to do is give a couple of examples of books in a series that are the first book. So the first one I have is Coco Akambi and the Heart of Midnight by Maria Monteiro Adebisi. And this is a fantasy book that looks at Nigerian mythology. We have a protagonist who also is struggling with sickle cell disease and how that affects him. And he is sent to this, totally forgot the names of everything, Alari. So he's sent to Alari, and we have a map. So if you like a map, we've got a map. And it tells you all the different realms of all the different goddesses and gods. So we have 8 of them. Yeah, so there's 8 different places. But they need to go to the Juju land. So into the portal, which is kind of the shadowy realm. And there's a lot of adventure, and you find out a lot more about these worlds and the different powers that all of these characters have. And it's just a really fun adventure with some great mythology in there. The next book I have is Amelia Fang and the Barbaric Ball by Laura Ellen Anderson. This is a slightly younger middle grade book. I'd say it's more around the 5 to 8 range. But it's just so cozy. Laura Ellen Anderson's drawings are amazing. So we have all this. On the first page we have the pumpkin squashy, just doing lots of little jumps and rolls and putting funny faces. And he is Amelia's pet. And Amelia Fang is a young vampire. And she lives here, again another map, in Nocturnia. And we've got a map of all the different places in here, including where Amelia lives and her school and all the different places they can go to. And this is just a really fun adventure about friends and friendship, and they have to make friends with the Prince Tajin, who is joining their school, and he is a little bit of what we call a spoilt sprout. So they're trying to be good friends, but also they really want to call him out on his behaviour and show him that is not a way to be a friend. Within this, there is certain things that the people of Nocturnia are afraid of, and there's another land that they find intimidating. And you hear a little bit more about the history of that, and that definitely comes into play in the second book, which is Amelia Fang and the Unicorn Lords. And this is one of my favourites in the series. This Barbaric Ball was a great introduction, but Unicorn Lords is, it really kind of, my enjoyment of this just skyrocketed because of the funny, silly times, but also the plotting of that one as well. So, new little happy, whimsical middle grade series, but still with a great plot if you would like to have that. Okay, and then the final place for the Earth Path is you then end up at the City of Party, where you can just read a middle grade book, which is very nice and simple. So now looking at the Air Path. So again, the Air Path would start at Prologton and go to Fayre Sister Hill. At Fayre Sister Hill, it is to read a friend recommendation, so a book that's been recommended to you by a friend. So obviously I can't give you examples for that one, so we're going to move on to the Locked Tower, which is where you can read a travelled book. So at the Locked Tower, you can read a book that has just travelled into your house by a different way, whether that's a library book, a gift, something you've bought from a different home, something you specifically bought from a different city. The idea is like a book that's got a little bit of a history, a little bit of a story to tell. There is a backpack bonus where you can get a book which is a travelling book. So you travel somewhere with the book and then read it. But again, I can't really give you prompts for that one because that's all down to you. You can be quite flexible with that one. So we're going to go to the Wild Rose Wood. So in the Wild Rose Wood, if you travel there by the Air Path, then you need to read a book with a wild cover. So anything on the front of the book cover that makes you think of the wild, nature, a little bit maybe creepy, what the colour palettes are, what does that mean to you? Does it mean bright, vibrant colours? Does it mean kind of more like dark colours? Whatever kind of your interpretation of wild is. So examples for these ones from our lovely inspiration books is where's it gone? There we go. Is obviously Wilder Than Midnight. We have got a lot of trees on the front cover of this book, and there's birds in the branches, and it just gives a feeling of wild. Sisters of the Lost Marsh also gives the feeling of wild. This marshland has well, this is on the front cover of this book, we have got all the colours that kind of make you think of this kind of wild marsh area. So we've got this sort of like goldy browns, dark greens, kind of pea greens, minty kind of colours, and then you've got all these like tree branches and things kind of coming into the side. I've decided, to me, wild means bare tree branches, because that seems to be the theme of all of these books that I've got as examples. So the example I've picked out is Root Magic by Eden Royce. So on the front cover of this book, we have got our protagonists. We've got I want to say Jay. There we go. I wanted to say Jazz. I'm like, it's not Jazz. Jay and Jez. So they have just been started to be taught root magic, which is their heritage magic. And we have got depicted on the cover them in the middle of these woods. There's lots of kind of foresty mist around them. There's green glowing, and we have the silhouettes of these trees. So it is definitely giving me wild on the cover. This is one of my favourite books that I read last year. So I'll just give you a little read to let you know about it. It's 1963 and things are changing for Jezebel Turner. Her beloved grandmother has just passed away. The local police deputy won't stop harassing her family. And with school integration arriving in South Carolina, Jez and her twin brother Jay are to begin the school year with a bunch of new kids. But the biggest change comes when Jez and Jay turn 11 and their uncle Doc tells them he's going to train them in root work. They've always been fascinated by African American folk magic, which is the legacy of their family for generations, especially all the curious potions and powders that Doc and Gran would make for people on their island. But Jez soon finds out her family's true power goes beyond the charms and elixirs, but not a moment too soon, because when evil, both natural and supernatural, comes to show itself in town, it's going to take every bit of magic she has inside her to see her through. Absolutely love this book, highly recommend. I have another fantasy for you, and this is Once We Were Witches by Sarah Driver. So this book is not that well known, but I adore this story. It's got such a wonderful magical whimsy to it. We've got sisters, we've got their growing relationship, we've got a fantastic character arc from Egg as she starts to kind of believe more in herself. We also have overcoming adversity in this one, should you want more examples. But for the wild cover, we have got a load of silhouetted tree branches all around. We've got this kind of beaming light, which makes me think of the moon. And the background is this kind of like jadey green of them running through the woods. Sisters Spell and Egg grow up in Mistress Molehill's school for wicked girls with no idea who they really are until the day the message arrives telling them to run. The message leads them to a funeral parlour, a mysterious portal and a secret. And when Egg is in danger, Spell must accept the truth. Could she really be a witch? Sorry, it's Spell, not Egg, who's got a really amazing character arc. I got them the wrong way around. And we have a backpack bonus in the Wild Rose Wood. So this is to read a book with an old building on the cover. So this could be like a castle, an abandoned crumbling house, something that's falling apart, something that's been disused. For me, castles were the ones that were the easiest to find for this prompt. And I have got two examples here. So the first one is The Girl Who Kept the Castle by Ryan Groudon. And on the front cover, kind of merging into our protagonist Fayre's dress, is a castle. And this castle is very, very old. It has been around for many, many years. It's got a lot of history. It's a very important building. It is also sentient, which is highly delightful. Wizard West was dead for nearly an entire day before he noticed. And Fayre, the daughter of West's groundkeeper, is charged with the unfortunate task of informing the wizard that he is now a ghost who has lost all his magic powers. To make matters worse, the enchanted castle of Celador, the only home Fayre has ever known, will fall apart at the next new moon if its foundation spells can't be renewed. West decides to host a competition to choose his successor, and Fayre now finds herself fighting behind the scenes to keep the tournament running smoothly. feeding the compost dragon, putting out kitchen fires, and making sure the competitors stay away from the cockatrice pen. But Killer Roosters soon become the least of her worries, as a servant of the evil Shadow Queen has sabotaged the contest and is set on destroying not only Celadare, but the entire kingdom. Faye must find a way to stop him. This was, again, a delightful middle grade read. It's got so much whimsy. There was also like layers of history in here. People working together, just kind of a character just that really comes into their own, and just so much delightful fun in this book. The final book that I'll be sharing with you, and another picturing an old ancient building on the cover, is a graphic novel. This is 5 Worlds, the first book in the 5 Worlds series, The Sand Warrior. So the Sand Warrior, as we can see here, we have Una, and she has like magical sand that she uses to help with things. And here we have the, I believe it's called the Sand Palace. Let me just check the map. We have another map. It's called the Sand Palace. Sand Castle. It's called the Sand Castle. So this has been an ancient building that has been here for ages, and at the top there is a beacon that has not been lit, but there are rumours that the beacons must be lit or all the 5 worlds are going to basically die off. So Una wonders, can she light the beacon and save the worlds? And here we have Lead Sue and we have Jax, and they are 2 other characters that help Una on her journey. There we go, those are the books that I'm recommending. After the Wild Rose Wood on the Air Path, you can also go then to the City of Party, where you just read a middle grade, and any book can count for that one. I hope you've enjoyed listening to me talk about some book recommendations. If you have also any book recommendations that you really want to share with people, then please do put them in the comments and suggest them for different prompts. I always love to get a good middle grade book recommendation. Happy reading, everyone!